Welcome to Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today we're going to be talking about a very intense Hal Ashby film from 1978 called Coming Home. It won three Oscars: Best Screenplay, Best Actor, Best Actress, on eight total nominations at the 51st Academy Awards. Big time movie at the Oscars. It's only behind the films The Deer Hunter and Heaven Can Wait for most nominations at that ceremony. It was the 15th highest grossing film from 1978. Yet, it is very, very hard to find. You can't rent it on Amazon Prime. You can't rent it on Vudu. It's on no streaming service. You have to buy it on DVD. That's exactly what we did. That's what Connor did. Connor found it online just a few days ago, ordered it, came in the mail. He watched it. He brought it to me while I was at work. I watched it last night, and I'm pretty sure we're on the same page here. It kind of blew us away. Um, Intense movie about a love triangle, 1968, based in California, but we have a lot of Vietnam stuff going on. Didn't really know what we were going to be getting into with this movie. You know, you kind of going in blind. I love doing that. I'd say the reason I wanted to see this is because I'm interested in Hal Ashby's work. I'm very interested in Jon Voight, Bruce Dern, of course, Jane Fonda. So it felt like a one to like, hey, we need to knock this out, you know, as cinephiles. So we found it, and I'm jealous, man. You have it on your shelf now, and I want to own it as well because I like really responded to this movie and was sobbing like a little baby by the end of it, and I can't wait to kind of dive into it.
Yeah, I was shocked that this is not more widely available. I mean, considering, how impactful this film was and how celebrated it was in 78 and how financially successful it was. It's weird that this has been kind of buried. And I don't really know why. But yeah, if you have 13 bucks, you can buy a basic DVD from Amazon. That's your only way to watch this unless you already have it. Uh, but it is a phenomenal film about the tragic aftermath of the Vietnam War and how it affected soldiers in different ways, both physically and mentally, as well as the people they had waiting for them back home. It's a harrowing drama and a crucial piece of the American story.
Yeah, yeah, well said. I find it really interesting that we've very recently did a movie called Platoon from 1986. This would be kind of a fascinating double feature with that movie, a little bit of 70s and 80s American cinema. Uh, Platoon is definitely, you know, in the shit kind of movie. You know, you're seeing firsthand type stuff uh, down on the ground in Asia. And with this movie, you're really some of my favorite things about it. Your main perspective is really is a woman who's married to someone who's fighting. That Bruce Dern plays Captain Hyde. You know, he's off in Vietnam fighting, and we get to know him a little bit at the beginning of the movie. He's kind of this, you know, macho, like let's go fucking beat some heads in type guy. And his wife Sally, she is supportive, and then throughout the movie starts to kind of change her political views as she starts thinking more about the war as an individual, and it's fascinating. And then Jon Voight plays Luke Martin, a brilliant character, a paraplegic who fought and was injured in the war. He's back home, you know, trying to deal with what he has to deal with now for the rest of his life, which he can't use the lower half of his body. So it's kind of this love triangle between them three, right? And we really get to know things through the perspective of someone who is waiting for their person to come back from war and how to deal with it. And then you throw Jon Voight in the mix, right? And he's a guy who's already dealing with it here, you know, back in the States. So really fascinating, you know. Platoon is definitely the kind of masculine, like, let's fucking see what's going on the ground. And this movie's very much the kind of liberal take on it, right? And I appreciated that. I'm starting to really come around to Hal Ashby as a director. He unfortunately passed away a little too young, in my opinion, at age 59. He passed away in the late 80s, so this is just 10 years before 10 years before he passed away. Coming Home comes out, so you know I think he had a lot more to say. So sad.
Yeah, his work is definitely pretty reflective of more of a liberal mindset of the 70s, what I've seen from him. And I love that. I love that he was, kind of challenging these norms at the time. I mean, 78 is not far off from like, I think when did I know that this is going to be sad coming from the history buff, but when did Vietnam end? When did we pull out of Nam?
Uh, Around then, mid or early mid 70s. So let's
Yeah,
see.
75. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Which,
yeah,
yeah, 3 years
this
later.
is that's a fresh fucking wound. So for Ashby to open that and say like, yeah, this was terrible. We shouldn't have done this. This is what these people have to deal with. That takes some balls, and I appreciate that. I mean, around that time, like I think the most well-known Vietnam film at that time is probably Apocalypse Now, and that's
Mm,
very much not a liberal take on the war. That's very much a like, let's fucking get him gung ho,
yeah.
take out the communist kind of a movie. But you need these differing perspectives. You need them to get a whole, rounded opinion on big events like Vietnam.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the staples kind of the forming of our country for sure. So yeah, I think you and I are always wanting to get every possible perspective, especially through filmmaking. It's such a fascinating art medium to showcase this kind of stuff. And I think the way Hal Ashby went is one of my favorite ways I've seen the Vietnam War, subgenre of films to be done. I thought it was really, really, really interesting. And, we're definitely going to kind of do an old school type episode with this. We're going to talk a lot about the individuals that make Coming Home what it is. But I do want to kind of, go back and listen to you and what you've been watching this past week. I know about a week ago now, last Monday was the Better Call Saul finale. So Jesus H, man, one of our favorite shows is over, and I'm still just like kind of sad.
Yeah. I love the title. It's all gone. Like that was a perfect
Yeah,
title. And
yeah,
the episode just played out like the final act of some Shakespearean tragedy. It was perfect. It was, just Saul getting in his own way, able to, talk the lawyer, like the opposition down to 7 years for all the horrible shit he did. And then just
yeah,
not being able to keep his own mouth shut, having, being partially, wanting to make sure Kim didn't go down for his crimes, but also being like, I did this. This was my achievement. This is my victory. Well, I made Heisenberg. Like that was just so incredible to see. And then for him to also, renounce the name Saul Goodman and be Jimmy McGill again
yeah,
was cool. It was like, Jimmy did this, like not Saul, not Gene, Jimmy. And
yeah,
I was I was enamored. It was a fucking fantastic finale.
yeah, for sure. And so much symbolism throughout it. Like you said, just kind of played out like a Shakespearean, just epic. And I've said this before. We've been talking. We've been opening these Oscar Sunday shows up with kind of getting to know each other as far as what we've been watching throughout the week. Just kind of catching up as friends. And so now we've talked about half this Better Call Saul season on this show. I just admire the patience. I admire the willingness to never rush to anything, to any conclusions, to never give us too much or too little. And Bob Odenkirk is just a fucking just monstrous performer in this show, and I'll never forget just how much fun I had this whole time with of course Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I'm gonna miss it a lot for sure. It's really the only show, scripted TV show that I was watching literally week to week. Every time it came out on Monday, I was always ready to watch it, and you and I would text each other throughout the episode like, holy shit, just those things are cool. Those kind of cultural moments you have where you're like a part of something and you feel like you can have a conversation with different fans of the show. And that was really special. And because I don't watch a ton of TV, I know I miss out on a lot of those conversations because that's what most people watch these days. If the new show comes out on Netflix, they just breeze through it and everybody talks about it and has those moments with each other, and then they move on to the next one. I'm not really wired that way anymore, and because I'm always just watching movies. So it was nice to be on that side of the fence for a change, but I'm more comfortable on the other side.
Yeah. And I never, I know a lot of people, Breaking Bad became insanely popular and it became like, something that everyone should see. And I do believe that, but it was never about the popularity. It was about the incredible storytelling potential of Vince Gilligan and what he was able to accomplish with these two incredible TV shows. And yeah, I'm going to have these with me forever. I'm going to watch them randomly. They're coming, they're comfort food. They're like, I know I can count on some incredible storytelling and just a good time with these shows. And I'm grateful for that. And yeah, I'm going to miss it, but we got 11 incredible seasons out of Albuquerque. So I'm content.
Yeah, me too. Right. I've already, of course, watched Breaking Bad when it was going on from 2008 to 2013, and then I've already rewatched it twice, like all the way through, and that I'll probably do that again. I'll probably rewatch Better Call Saul maybe in like a year or so, watch that all the way through, and then watch Breaking Bad all the way through. Kind of do it that way.
No.
And I'm totally down. I'll waste fucking 120 hours, of of my time to kind of give it to that world, to Vince Gilligan and those characters. I just adore it, and I never thought I'd believe it or say it out loud, but this past season of Better Call Saul, I've been kind of sticking by my guns that it's Better Call Saul is just as good as Breaking Bad, or maybe even better. So that's just fucking crazy, to be able to do that. Special stuff. We don't talk about TV on this show ever, so we were both really affected by it, and loved the way it stuck the landing. So very very happy for them. It felt right, that shot of Kim and Saul, or Jimmy, in the jail cell with the light kind of just shining through, and they're sharing the cigarette. I was like, fucking cinema.
Well, I love the idea that like Saul is going to take care of Jimmy when he's in the can. Like,
Yeah.
he dedicated his life to keeping criminals out of prison, and they all see that as like, he's one of them. He had their back. They're going to have his. So that was a nice vibe of like, prison's not going to break James McGill. He's going to be fine.
No, and I would give an arm to watch a season, 8 episodes of Jimmy in prison. Like I would give a lot for that. Yeah, great stuff, man. We also, for coming home, we both did some homework that we were both kind of on the same page with. We both watched Runaway Train from 1985 because Jon Voight was up for Best Actor in that movie. We also both, well, you watched The Last Detail. You hadn't seen that before.
Yes.
That's an incredible movie, also directed by Hal Ashby. So we were kind of trying to knock out things that are in this realm, with Jon Voight, Hal Ashby. I watched, I love Jane Fonda. I'm trying to knock out as many of her movies as I can. I've seen a lot of her nominated stuff, but for fun, I watched 9 to 5 because I'd never seen it. What a delightful film, just so much fun, and like a female empowerment movie, and it just a good piece of 80s pop culture. I also watched Hal Ashby's Being There from 1979 with Peter Sellers. Really good movie. I think you'd dig that one a lot. That's a really interesting movie to do literally a year after coming home. Just shows kind of the range Hal Ashby can have. And I also watched for some 1978 action. I watched Heaven Can Wait, which was up for 9 Oscars at this 51st Academy Awards. Wasn't a huge fan of Heaven Can Wait. I've learned as time has gone on, I'm not a huge Warren Beatty guy. I don't think he's like, I don't think he's the best director around. I think he's really fun to watch. Like he's a movie star for sure. I really love him in The Parallax View. I thought he did decent in Bugsy and Reds, and of course, Bonnie and Clyde. But this movie just had some like weird plot issues that I just wasn't down with. But it does have me going down that rabbit hole of what's that movie from I think it's from the 30s. Here Comes Mr. Jordan. I think that's what it's called. 30s or 40s, I don't know. And that was up for some Oscars. And this movie is kind of playing with the same plot, the same source material as that. So I am interested kind of in this story, but yeah, Heaven Can Wait was fine. I give it like a 7 out of 10. Whereas, Coming Home is like a strong 9 for me. I fucking loved it, and I would much rather vote for Coming Home than Heaven Can Wait for Best Picture. But what did you think of The Last Detail? Because that is Hal Ashby. That was my introduction to him, and I was like completely blown away. And I think it's one of Jack's best performances.
It's a delightful film. It's, a movie about just guys being dudes.
Yeah, yeah, slice of life. Yeah,
Yeah. And just, I love the idea of just, a poor kleptomaniac kid having his whole life being, ruined because he fucked with the wrong people. And Jack and this other guy just being like, we gotta do something for this kid. Like, we gotta show him what life, the joys of life before they're all snatched away from him.
yeah,
And then just the bender these guys go on. It's fun to watch, and it gets super fucking deep at times, but it never gets, it's definitely more comedy than it is drama. Doesn't get too sappy, and in the end, they drop him off and they go home. It's like,
yeah,
was it like, did it matter, or like, does that even matter? And
yeah.
I like that idea. I don't usually like films that are kind of aimless, but there was something about this. This is Jack is so fucking magnetic. It's impossible not to like him.
Yeah, you really can just give him a room and let him kind of roam around and feel it out, and that's kind of what he's doing in The Last Detail. Yeah, I really, really, really like that movie. I watched it maybe year and a half ago on Criterion, and I was just like, damn, this is Jack was just at a different fucking level at that time in his career, and the 73 to 75 run is really crazy. He's in that Chinatown and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's just on a different playing field than everybody else. And I was really surprised by Randy Quaid in it. So yeah. Really, really good movie. And then of course, Runaway Train, we both were like, what the fuck? This is sick.
That was insane. I hadn't even heard of that film till you had brought it up, and I looked into it. And I'm like, this sounds pretty fucking awesome. I might watch this too. And
Yeah.
I did, and I was glued. I mean, that was amazing. It had the vibe of like, a disaster movie, but I love that it's basically two different movies. Like it's the prison movie and then the train movie, but it meshes so well.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen Jon Voight like that. I watched this before I watched Coming Home, and I had never seen Jon Voight like that. Like it was a side to him I didn't know existed, because I've always known him as, the paycheck guy from Anaconda and National Treasure. I've never seen him as like an actor.
Yeah.
This was new to me. Like I saw Midnight Cowboy, but that's about it. And yeah, him and Eric Roberts are great together. And just the whole, the idea of just being trapped on a train with no engineer and no brakes. Like it's so basic, but it's so terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's immediately became, we did Midnight Express not that long ago on this show, or Shanghai Express. Sorry, Shanghai Express on this show. We did that not that long ago, and we did top 5 train movies. This would be on my list if I would have seen it before. I was listening to people talk about Bullet Train, that new film with Brad Pitt, and they were talking about some of their favorite train movies, and they started talking about Runaway Train, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And there was one guy, his name's Van Lathan. He was like, I know people haven't heard of this, or like it's not really in the stream of conscious for like movie fans these days. He's like, but it was like up for Oscars. It's like a great 80s got a weird, like kind of creepy synth horror fucking score to it.
Yeah.
He's like, Jon Voight's like putting in a shift in this movie. And I mean, yeah, they're like, he was right. And I checked it out because of that. And because I was like, hey, we're going to be talking about Jon Voight. I want to watch more. Because I'm the same as you, Transformers, National Treasure, like that kind of like weird 2000s run he had. That's more what I'm, accustomed to with him. His post prime stretch, and now I have a whole new respect for him. And he's in his 80s now, and this year has not been kind to that generation, and you never know when these people are going to go. And I do think sometimes it's important just to kind of go back and give yourself some perspective on these performers and directors and writers. So I'm glad we both did that. 1985. Him and Eric Roberts are both up. So that will be an Oscar Sunday one day. That I loved that movie. it felt like a cousin, like a long lost cousin movie of like John Carpenter. It's just like fucking awesome. Like every 5 minutes, you're kind of you're given another reason to kind of get on the edge of your seat. Like every 5 to 10 minutes, you're like, holy shit, fuck! Like tension just got raised to another level, and I love that in movies, man. And Eric Roberts is an interesting guy because everything I've read about him in the '80s is like he was supposed to be one of the next of the guy, like one of the guys, and obviously he's not really had that kind of a career. But I like his career. I like the random stuff. I really really like him in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. I think he's a really interesting face to look at. Has a crazy voice, and I do enjoy him in Runaway Train. Although I probably wouldn't give him a nomination.
That was I felt that too. I was like, he's good, but Jon Voight is acting circles around this kid.
I agree. Jon Voight, everything from his tooth to the accent he's doing to his face was just red from how cold it was. Like I just loved Jon Voight in that.
Just the buildup of the character. Like he's been in solitary for years.
Manny.
Yeah. They've welded his cells shut so he couldn't even try to escape because he's broken out of this joint like 3 times.
Yeah.
And the day they let him out, he's like, I'm out. I'm gone. And yeah. there was a line where I think it was Rebecca De Mornay said, like, you're an animal. He's like, no, worse. Human.
Yeah, I'm human. Yeah. 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 I love when Manny's like, when you have the warden in the helicopter and he's like, come on, I'm right here. I won. He's just screaming at him. Oh, I was just dying. I was laughing, but also like frightened. I was like, this is great. Like all of my emotions are coming out. And there were some really, really impressive shots in that movie. Like you said, this is a cool premise of a train that has no conductor and no brakes and it's just going. And there were some really cool shots of the train going under the tunnels and then coming out. And I was like, man, this is my kind of 80s movie for sure.
I also love just how they blended, the warden's pursuit of the guy into this. And
yeah,
like when he's like kind of drowns the one guy in his own piss and is like,
yeah,
wipe that off. And the guy's just like super terrified of this psycho. Like, what is this movie?
Oh, brilliant. God. Yeah. Brilliant stuff. So I can't wait to do that one day on this show and just kind of do a random 80s Oscar nominated movie that I think has just been forgotten. It's on HBO Max right now. I highly suggest it. Highly. I think that we both kind of came away like, hell yeah, that was one that we're proud to have seen. And we'll talk about a little bit more in a little bit. Let's start with Hal Ashby. He's got 3 total nominations, 1 win. We've actually talked about him before, a long time ago, because he used to be before he became a director, he was an editor. He was a film editor, and he won an Oscar for Best Film Editing for In the Heat of the Night, 1967, Best Picture winner. So decent flick. The year before, he was nominated for Best Film Editing for The Russians Are Coming. The Russians Are Coming. I haven't seen that movie, but I'd love to. And then he was nominated for Best Director for Coming Home, the movie we are going to be talking about a lot in a little while. This guy's underrated. Underrated. He is not one of those names that you hear all the time when you talk about this era with mainstream movie fans. But for me, he is. And I'm ashamed that I haven't seen Harold and Maude. I'm ashamed.
I've had so many people recommend Harold and Maude to me. I've been meaning to get around to that one. I will try. I do love when editors and cinematographers become directors because it's like they've already done the nitty gritty work. They know how the sausage is made, so they're going to be much more, aware of each shot. I think because of that prior knowledge.
Yeah,
I think a lot of cases like their work really stands out.
I totally agree. It didn't take him long. He edited just a few movies and then became, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. He directs The Landlord, Harold and Maude, The Last Detail, Shampoo. Shampoo is fucking bonkers. Bound for Glory, Coming Home, Being There, Secondhand Hearts, Looking to Get Out. And then he does a documentary called Let's Spend the Night Together. He does a music video for the Rolling Stones, which makes sense if you've seen Coming Home. There's about 7 songs by the Rolling Stones in Coming Home. He does The Slugger's Wife, 1985. This guy just churned out a lot of stuff in the 70s and 80s, and then passed away in '88. So really interesting career that I am keen on learning more about. Very cool voice, obviously a man of culture. This guy, the soundtrack for Coming Home is like, are you kidding me? This is the coolest music taste you could have in 1978.
Yeah. He definitely was, he wasn't fucking around. He knew what he wanted to say and he knew how he wanted to say it. And I respect anybody with that kind of vision.
Yeah, totally agree, man. First performer I want to talk about, because she's my gal. She's one of my favorite performers that I can think of, is Jane Fonda, 2-time Oscar winner, 7-time nominee. She is just a force on the screen. I didn't really know anything. I knew about her, of course, and I had seen some of her stuff from like the past couple decades. But she's, again, it's kind of like same thing with Jon Voight. It's like, okay, I mean, neat, but what are you really capable of? I would probably On Golden Pond is the one I saw first. Like my earlier years of watching. That movie, of course, with also Henry Fonda. That's a good movie we've talked about on this show too. She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, but there was a collection on the Criterion Channel, long time ago now. It's one of the first things I tackled when I signed up for that streaming service, and I just started fucking going after her movies and finding out that man, this woman was something else in the '70s, and I've totally fallen in love with her. She was nominated for the first time for 1969's They Shoot Horses, Don't They? And then a couple years later, she won the Oscar for Best Actress for Clute. Incredible movie. You watched that as well, huh?
I did, yeah, for the first time. And
Whew.
You didn't tell me it was basically a psychological thriller. You didn't tell me that.
So Clute is, you've seen now I don't want to fuck this up. All the President's Men,
Yes.
and I want to say the other movie in that is The Parallax View. Those 3 movies are all by, what's his name? It's that fucker.
Pacula.
Yeah, they're all directed by him. It's like called the Paranoia '70s trilogy, and Clute is the first of those. And the score is like one of the best I've ever heard, and you feel every moment of tension throughout that movie. Very, very '70s, very, very '70s movie. And that's in a way, that's kind of her coming out party of like, hey, I'm a fucking like tour de force, and she won. She won on her second nomination, and one of my favorite Best Actress wins of all time for sure.
Well, she was also, very well known for her political views and her social activism. That
Oh yeah,
when she won for Clute, apparently everyone was worried about what is she going to say, and there was a hush over the crowd. And I watched a speech, and she just basically said like, "There's a lot to be said, but I'm not going to say it here. So thank you." It's like, fuck, I love that. I love that she's like, there's a time and a place, and it's not right now. It's like, wow, to be able to do that. And then to just go on, continue to be Jane Fonda. It's like, well done.
Yeah. And then it adds to the performance she's putting into Coming Home, right? It's like, Jesus, man. I just love her. I love her to death. She's like a stunning, stunning human being. And on top of that, she has skill just oozing out of her. And I could watch her all day. And Clute is certainly one of the front runners for like my favorite performance of hers. She was nominated again, 1977 for Julia. And then she won for the movie we're going to be talking about more, Coming Home. And then another personal favorite she was nominated for the year after, 1979's The China Syndrome. Love that movie. Her and Jack Lemmon are fucking so good in that. It's got one of my favorite car chase scenes of all time in that movie as well. I just love The China Syndrome. Another weird like '70s paranoia. Just everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? I love that mindset. It's fascinating for movies. And then On Golden Pond, 1981, and The Morning After, 1986. She was nominated. That's her last performance. The Morning After is not a great movie, but her and Jeff Bridges are fucking awesome, so it's worth watching. Yeah, not a great premise, but yeah, they're both great, easy to look at kind of actors. So she's amazing. This is it's not very often that we come across someone who has this many nominations and two wins. To put it into perspective, like Denzel Washington, one of the greats, has two wins on I believe nine nominations. So she's like in a really special place when it comes to Oscar history and performing. Just very hard for people to get two wins. That's not something that happens often, and she did it.
Well, also, I'm sure she had to overcome, you know, accusations of nepotism, being,
Yeah.
Henry Fonda's daughter,
Oh
and
yeah.
she had to prove herself, and God knows she did. And she's part of a Hollywood dynasty that continues to this day, and that's fucking awesome. I love when people have that, and she looks so much like her dad. It's fucking weird. Like those
It's
Fonda genes are strong.
it's bonkers. And what a cool family. I mean, Jesus Christ, to have that last name is definitely means you should probably have some talent to back it up.
Well, as we've seen four times, they do.
Yeah, it's worked out. Their batting average is pretty fucking good. So yeah, God, I love her. I'm I want to do Clute as its own episode one day, just kind of like really, really give her, all of her roses, and maybe by then we both will have seen more of her work, and we can do a top five Jane Fonda, and just kind of really, really hammer it home that she's someone you should go back and watch. She's great. Next guy I want to talk about is Mr. Jon Voight, four-time nominee, Midnight Cowboy. Right, that's a movie I believe we've talked about. When would we have talked about that? When we did Z?
That's when we did Z. Yes.
Okay, that was a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
But I do remember we both, had good things to say about that movie. It's a Best Picture winner. It's definitely a movie that I see as kind of the Oscars are changing, right?
Yeah.
Moving from the '60s to the '70s. That's a really, really cool time in American cinema. And Midnight Cowboy is kind of a fuck it, we're going for it type movie. And I respected that one a lot. So, and then, of course, Coming Home, he gets the dub, and he's so good in Coming Home. It kind of blew me away how he plays this paraplegic. Even the scars looked, scars on his back, they show at one point. You're like, man, like the commitment is really impressive. And I love that he got a win for it. And then Runaway Train, kick-ass movie, and his last nomination was for Ali from 2001. So I like Ali. I think it's a decent flick. It's not my favorite or anything, but I do like it, and I like him in it. But again, this is that era. 2004, National Treasure, 2007, Transformers. You and I, our opinion of him is much different than what it is now.
Yeah, you're right. Ali's interesting because he's Howard Cosell, and it's funny to see. He does a good job, but it's like with the makeup and everything, it's way more of like an impression than it is a performance.
Yeah, I agree. It's not really my favorite kind of Oscar nominated performance. Yeah.
And I was not aware until just now that I have apparently seen all four of Jon Voight's nominated work. So that's pretty cool.
We both have. Let's rank them real quick. What's your favorite?
Of the four, it's Coming Home by a mile.
Coming Home, not by a mile. I love him in Runaway Train. And then it's Midnight Cowboy, and then Ali.
Yeah. Yep. I second that.
I don't think I don't think many people, if they saw all four of them, I don't think many people would disagree with us. I think Coming Home is very obviously his, like, look what I can do. Look at my capabilities as an actor. Runaway Train's like, that was fun as shit. And Midnight Cowboy is like, oh, cool. He did really well in a really good movie, a Best Picture winner. And then Ali is like, fine. Probably could have found someone else in 2001 to give the nomination. That's all right.
Yeah, you're right. It's interesting. He's such a strange. It's like there's two Jon Voights. It's like there's '70s and '80s Jon Voight, and then there's baby genius 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Jon Voight.
Yeah, it's he's not quite has as many personalities as like Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage has like 9 stages, but Jon Voight has a clear dividing line, as he moves into the '90s and 2000s. I do want to see more stuff that to kind of broaden that opinion that I have. So I will be more inclined to watch Jon Voight stuff now, which is something I never really thought I'd say.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Ever since I saw Anaconda, I was like, this guy won an Oscar once. And then I watched Coming Home and I'm like, oh, was it that guy? Or like, was Jon Voight abducted by aliens in 1988 and replaced with this lookalike clone who's not nearly as good as him?
Yeah, yeah. Anaconda is such a fucking crazy, because he's doing obviously like a fucking ridiculous accent in that movie, and he's doing a ridiculous accent in Runaway Train, but it works and it's good. In Anaconda, it's like, dude, oh my god, this is a white guy. He's supposed to be Portuguese or something, or what is it?
I always thought
And
he was
and
supposed to be Cajun, but honestly, who knows?
in Anaconda, I thought he was supposed to be like some like
I it's
Latino guy. I don't know.
no one really know. He just kind of does an accent. Like nobody knows what the accent is. It's just an accent.
Fucking ridiculous, I don't get it. I kind of love Anaconda though, just because it's fucking ridiculous and
Yeah.
stupid, and I just have fun. It's a popcorn movie for me. I watched it not that long ago, and I had a blast, and I laughed a lot. So
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a fun movie. But he is just absolutely ridiculous. Uh he's Paraguayan.
there we go. That's what it is. I knew it was some. Yeah, okay, it's in South America. Okay,
Well, guess what's going in my thesis? I didn't know that.
yeah. I figured you'd be all over that, because yeah, it's like, look at this. They're like, hey, let's just give him like a ponytail and some stupid fucking accent, and he'll be a guy who's like, I know these waters, but it's like he's doing Boston and Latino, and I don't even know.
Oh,
They should have just like made him from Florida or something,
just
and
make him a white guy. He's a white guy.
yeah, yeah, just make him a white guy from Florida who's like, I love the swamp. So, I don't know, stupid. Anaconda is not for Oscar Sunday. It's for it's for other stuff. So great. Bruce Dern.
Mm.
Bruce Dern. Personal favorite for both of us. Just kind of like one of those random character actors who had his day. Has had his day throughout the decades, and we just did a movie not that long ago. We did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? And Bruce Dern plays a really really interesting character in that movie, and we've seen him in Tarantino movies, and we both are huge fans of The Burbs, and he plays a great character in that. Oddly enough, if Coming Home doesn't end the way it does, we'll get to that later. But if it doesn't end the way it does, you could see The Burbs being him later on in life, right? You could see him being Captain Hyde later on in The Burbs. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's funny. He just, he's found a drift. He changes his name. He marries a hot blonde, moves to suburbia, and he's Rumsfeld. It's like I totally buy
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I would too. God, I love The Burbs so much. Special movie. But Bruce Dern was nominated for supporting actor for Coming Home, and he also was nominated for best lead actor, Nebraska 2013. So huge gap. It's a 35-year gap for his Oscar nominations, and he's just always been a dude I love. When he's there, I'm happy, cool with it. He's not quite like an actor's actor, type guy. He's just kind of. It looks like he's just doing his job, and I like guys like that. These kind of everyday type guys who just step in and do their job. And uh, you know, his daughter Laura Dern is one of my favorite actors of today. So I really like in her speech when she shouted him out and was like, my dad's got game, I think is what she said, something like that. And that was really neat, because you're like, yeah, fucking Bruce does. He's the man. I love him in Coming Home. He has some of my favorite, moments of the movie. And towards the end, he obviously tears your heart into two pieces. So good stuff. And we're going to be talking about him more later for sure.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Bruce Dern. He's character actors are my, my forte. I fucking love character actors. And Bruce Dern, he does have that vibe of just like, I'm here for the check, but I'm going to do a goddamn good job. And
Yeah.
I respect that big time. And yeah, The Burbs is obviously my favorite, but I do love him in Nebraska. Uh, I see him random. Like he was in Monster
Yeah.
just for like not even 5 minutes, but he was great.
It's
It's
great.
he's the man. Yeah, I'll back Bruce Dern forever.
Yeah, yeah, I will too, man. Here's a person that I didn't quite know much about. Penelope Milford. Um, Oof! What a performance in this movie. It's her only nomination ever. Um, Man, there really was a chance where they knocked out all four acting categories. There really was an actual chance here with Bruce and Penelope. Obviously, Jane and Jon both won, so that I would have been all for that. I thought they were both fantastic in this movie. And Vi, that character, Jesus Christ, the stuff she goes through in this movie. It's a really interesting perspective to have in the movie, and she knocks it out of the park with what she's given. It's not a ton, but what she's given, she brings the heat. And I'm curious about what else she's done. This is her lone nomination, so I always raise an eyebrow at those people. Like, did they ever miss anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't know who she was, and there were moments where she was, on equal footing with Jane Fonda, and I'm like, wow. I mean, she has a hell of an emotional arc in this movie, and yeah, how do you not just feel for her?
Yeah, God, man, some of the stuff that just kind of happens in this movie. It's a very very seamless, just kind of you need every moment to kind of stack on top of each other type movie. And I love when we get those. And this is certainly one of those where it's very hard to kind of pick scene by scene. It's more it's one of those movies where you're like, oh my God, I keep feeling horrible for all these people, like you just kind of adds more and more weight to your shoulders as an audience member, and really makes you think. And she made me think a lot.
Oh yeah, it makes you feel. It makes it brings out your humanity.
Yeah.
There's times where you don't feel like you're watching a movie. You feel like you're watching somebody's life just fall apart, and that's just you want to help. You feel like you want to do something to like. I want these people to have a happy ending, and now you just know they're not going to get it. It's fucking emotional, man.
Yeah, extremely unforgiving. Last 10 minutes of this movie for sure. We got to talk about the writers in this movie, man. Waldo Salt, what a cool name. First off, Waldo Salt. Uh, Once I looked at his resume, I was like, that makes sense. Like this guy's got some stuff in his bag, and a guy who's got some Oscar stuff going on. He won for screenplay, Midnight Cowboy, 1969. He was nominated for Serpico, 1973. Fucking love that movie. Then he won again for Coming Home, 1978. Yeah, I mean, talk about a cool ass 10-year run right there with the Oscars. This screenplay is fucking amazing and deserves all the accolades it got. All the respect it got. So gotta hand it to that guy. But he had some help. Nancy Dowd, she was also credited as a writer for this movie, and this is her lone nomination. So got to shout her out as well. But I'm curious to look at more work from this guy Waldo Salt. Just just a cool fucking name, and obviously these movies impacted us a lot. He wrote a bunch of stuff in the 30s and 40s, so like his fucking career spans over decades and decades. Coming Home is the last movie he's credited for writing. So
Wow, what a
very
swan
very
song.
yeah, very very fascinating. He died in the 80s as well, at age 72. And I'm in. I want to see more stuff. I want to see some of his old work.
Yeah, me too. That's God, I hope I have a story like Coming Home in me at the end of my like life. You know what I mean? Like I hope I
Oh,
still have the ability to do something that amazing when I'm near the end of it.
I know exactly what you mean. A lot of like when we, especially with the movie industry, this thing that we like both love so much, you find out how really you're like in your prime when you're like in your 40s and 50s, and then you if you still got the juice, you still got the juice into your 60s and 70s. It's very rare for a guy to be in his 20s or 30s to just come along, get that, be at the helm, direct a movie, write a movie, which is why we like guys so much like Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson, the Coen brothers, guys who just started and just went out the gate and were, have been making movies ever since. But most of the stuff we see, these guys are guys are older, and so yeah, I hope I have something as creatively interesting and impactful as Waldo Salt's screenplay for coming home. But Robert C. Jones also helped write this movie, and he was also a film editor. You'll love this. He's the guy behind editing Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Yeah,
Beautiful.
how about that? How about that? He's got 4 Oscar nominations. Best film editing. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, 1963. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, 1967. Bound for Glory, 1976. And then he won screenplay for Coming Home. So this is another guy who went from editing to writing, and you could just see a lot of talent in this dude. So I feel like this is a movie. A lot of these 70s, 60s, 70s movies can be kind of gateway movies where you start learning more about, look at all these connections, and all these different things where people just kind of got work where they could and gave it their best shot. And maybe later down the line, they become Hal Ashby. So I love learning that stuff.
Yeah, it's cool just seeing, an era of Hollywood where people were finally able to be as creatively original as they could be. There were no more restrictions. No one was holding them back. No one was saying this, nobody wants to see this or this is inappropriate. All that was gone. And it was just creativity left and right. I fucking love it.
Me too, man. Yes. Time and time again, every time I watch a kind of big 70s movie like Coming Home, it's even more validated in my mind that it is my favorite decade of especially American cinema. Just everyone's just saying fuck it, and like you said, no bars, no more lines in the sand. We're fucking going for it, and I'm all about it. I eat this shit up. So yeah, Waldo Salt, Robert C. Jones, and Nancy Dowd are all credited for an Oscar win for this screenplay. So cool little trio going on there writing. Now the cinematographer Haskell Wexler, boy, Coming Home really shows off a few times. It doesn't really need to have that stuff, but it shows off a few times with how it's framed and how it's shot. And I immediately was like, Jesus Christ! They're like, who is this guy? It was one of those, especially that finale with our guy Bruce Dern with Captain Hyde going into the ocean. It was just such a painfully but beautifully dark shot that I'll never ever forget. And the music that's playing, I'll talk about that later for sure. The music that's playing and just the implications of that scene, just like, wow, that's a shot that's going to be implemented in my head for probably forever.
Yeah, I've got quite a lot to say about that scene as well. I had a feeling that's where we were going to have some overlap. So we'll see.
Yeah, I do think we both, responded to certain moments. It's hard not to. Fucking, fucking crazy stuff going on towards the end of the movie. It's this kind of slow build up to something just super devastating. So Haskell Wexler, though, this is my kind of guy right here. He won Best Cinematography for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, 1966. He was nominated for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975. He won 1976 Bound for Glory. And then 1989, he was nominated for Blaze, Best Cinematography. So yeah, this guy, he's got some shots, and this is, if you're the guy behind, Coming Home, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, you have my admiration.
I have been trying to watch Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf for so long. I have it. I need to just sit down and enjoy that movie. I know I'm going to love it.
Yeah, it's one of those. It would be such a good Oscar Sunday, and it's one of those like, should we just do it on here, or do we wait till
I mean, it'd be a great opportunity to finally talk about Liz and Dick.
Yeah,
Hollywood's original power couple.
It would. You're right. There's a lot of things around that movie that we could just kind of get down on. So I know you're going to hate this, but he also shot Faces, John Cassavetes' 1968 movie that we talked about on this show. He also shot In the Heat of the Night. He shot The Conversation, 1974. Yeah, this guy's a fucking freak. And this is why I miss doing this on this show, these individual things, because you realize like, holy fuck, this is an artist that I love that I didn't even know. That's one of my favorite things we've ever done on any of our podcasts. It's just that kind of discovery.
Yeah, just that's what it's all about for me is learning and finding new things about film to love and enjoy and appreciate. And yeah, that added to that big time.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. Is we both like to have fun, but we also really want to learn and grow as cinephiles and kind of well-rounded film buffs. So, last guy I want to talk about is the film editor for this movie, uh, Don Zimmerman. His one nomination is for this movie, but I looked into his stuff and I was like, the fuck, it was one of those like I'm not really blown away, but okay. Like recently, he's done Jumper 2008, Flight of the Phoenix 2004, Men in Black 3. What what in the world? Rush Hour 3? I like well, who is this guy? He did Rocky 3. I don't know. He likes to do sequels. He did Rocky 4, which I love Rocky 4. It's my favorite Rocky. He did Heaven Can Wait, also a movie nominated plenty of times at this 51st Academy Awards. So really, really weird career.
Yeah, a lot of these, technical guys, they take the work where they can get it. And sometimes it's, weird shit, but sometimes it's masterpieces. You never know.
Yeah, I think your favorite title out of all the movies he edited is probably going to be 1999's Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, like Half Baked, Patch Adams. What? Like, what? Just Married? Okay.
I think actually his work on Galaxy Quest is a testament to his skill because that movie had to be re-edited into a kids movie. Like it was intended to be kind of an R-rated thing, and then the studio was like, "We want to aim it towards kids, so you got to recut that thing." So he's the guy who had to go back and remake that movie into a PG movie, and it's a great movie. So well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, there you go. No, he's definitely got some bangers in here, but also some weird ones. His most recent credit is 2020's Bill and Ted Face the Music. I love this guy. uh, Don Zimmerman.
I can just picture him on various film sets telling the coolest fucking stories.
Like, yeah, right. Yeah, he's just like, I love my job. I'm having fun. I'm doing all kinds of different films. I have no snob in me. I have none of that in my DNA. I'll do whatever. But I did work on Coming Home at one point in my life. So really really cool. These people are great, man. This is why we partly why we do this show. Why we just watch a shit ton of stuff is to learn about the people that make it happen. Do you have something out of this? What we've learned here from maybe Jane Fonda or Hal Ashby? Is there a film you're like I'm going to watch that now?
I want to finish Pacula's Paranoia trilogy.
Okay.
The Parallax View, you said?
Yes, with Warren Beatty.
Yeah, I got to watch that.
Yeah, that is my favorite Beatty performance by a quarter mile. I love him in that movie. God, I love the 70s. I really responded to that one. It was on Criterion. I watched that not that long ago. I gave it like a 9 out of 10, 4.5 star kind of movie. I really, really liked it. And yeah, that trilogy is something special, something to behold. I definitely, Harold and Maude is the one that I'm like, all right, it might be time. It's the most popular Hal Ashby film. It's the one that's kind of lasted the longest. It's the one that's got the most going for it on, Letterboxd and all those different kind of sites. So I need to check that out. Next time I stumble across it, it might be time. So, but yeah, I'd love for you to finish the Parallax View, finish that trilogy. I can't believe we haven't done any of those movies on the show. All the President's Men is fucking incredible. But Clute, really glad you watched that.
Yeah, me too. And I watched All the President's Men just for kicks not that long ago, and
because
I adored it
because it's Redford and Hoffman. Like what more? What like two guys at the complete apex of their careers. Like what more could you want?
The story of the guys who took down Nixon. Like it's an amazing story and well done movie. So yeah, for sure, dude. Well, I think next we should do our awards for Coming Home before we dive into the 51st Academy Awards. I want to go ahead and we've been teasing. We've been kind of knocking on the door.
I want to go ahead and talk about what we loved with this movie because we definitely have some stuff to say. We got the Quentin Tarantino award for the best quote of the movie. Very tough, great screenplay. A lot of very kind of wrap the movie in one type quotes in it. And I love movies like that. The Ennio Morricone award for the best music moment. There is no score in Coming Home. It's all soundtrack. That's a creative decision from Hal Ashby, and I respect it a lot. I think it works for this movie. I think it works for this time period. You get to use 1968. Let's use 1968. And I thought that was really cool. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for the best performance of the movie. We got four motherfuckers that have an argument here, and I can't wait to hear what you got. And then finally, we have the Roger Deakins Award. I still have two things written down because I don't know what to choose. Let's get to it, man. What's your Tarantino?
My Tarantino comes towards the end. It's when Hyde learns about the affair and confronts Luke with a gun. And Luke tells him, I'm not the enemy. Maybe the enemy is the fucking war, but you don't want to kill anybody here. You have enough ghosts to carry around.
Ugh.
Fuck. And then that, jumps Hyde out of his stupor, and he's like embarrassed that he had a gun pointed at Luke. And Luke just leaves because he knows that they've got shit to talk about. Like, God damn, what a profound and mature reaction to that whole situation. Like, that could have been, two crazy people just screaming about, she's mine. But it was, I know what you went through. Don't let it take you over. It's like, fuck, man.
Yeah, that is one of the best scenes of the movie for sure. And the way Jon Voight just carries himself in that wheelchair, he just kind of the calmness of like, I know what you know and you know what I know. And we both know it's fucked up, right? Let's call a spade. And I loved that scene. And Bruce Dern his eyes are fucking like you believe Bruce Dern went to war in that scene.
Yeah. You believe, like, I thought he was going to shoot him. Like, you don't know what's going to happen there. It's so up in the air. And, you're just thinking, like, don't do it. Don't let the war win, man.
Yeah. God. Brilliant stuff, man. That's a really good pick. I thought you would choose that. And there's also another line when Bruce Dern's at the bar. You and I in Hong Kong, and I talked about this last night. We were texting and I was like, dude, that was a fucking sick fucking quote. When he talks about on TV, they show what it's like. They sure as hell don't show what it is, like that's, oh man. Cause he's fine. He's like, it's fucked up, man. Like he's having one of those moments of this panic attack of, I got to get out of here. It's fuck. Everywhere I go is claustrophobic because I can't stop thinking about how fucked up it is. And I thought you would choose that, but it was between those two. I knew I've got to know you through these Tarantinos.
I had that written down until the confrontation scene, and I'm like, no, that got into my head.
Makes sense. Yeah, I did something similar. I right when the movie started, the like opening dialogue I wrote, I was like, yeah, that's gonna win. And throughout the movie, I was like, fuck. But I stuck with it. I stuck with that scene when we see Luke Martin with a bunch of other wounded vets, and they're hanging out playing pool and just kind of smoking and doing random shit, and they're talking. I found that to be one of the most engaging opening scenes of any war movie I've ever seen in my life. So there's two vets talking back and forth. The first one says, some of us, not all of us, some of us need to justify ourselves what the fuck we did over there. So if we come back and we say what we did was a waste of time, what happened to us was a waste, some of us can't live with it. The other guy said, so they go out and they do it again. Goes back to the other vet. So they say, well, they got to keep, man. They got to, and he's stumbling through his words because he doesn't even know what the fuck's going on. And I love that about it. So they say, well, they got to keep, man. They got to make you, inside of themselves. They're lying to themselves continuously saying, what I did was okay because this is what I got from it, man. I have to justify by being fucking paralyzed. I have to justify killing people. So I say it was okay. But how many guys, though, can make the reality and say, what I did was wrong and all this other shit that was going on was wrong, man, and still be able to live with themselves because they're crippled for the rest of their fucking life? Just like, It's like a stoner wounded vet scene, 1968, middle of the war. A guy who's just trying to explain what he feels, and he can't even get through part of that paragraph. He can barely get through. He doesn't like know how to articulate what he wants to say, but he knows what it means inside of him, and like you can feel that. These are just fucking random guys in this movie, and Luke Martin's kind of looking around, like he's laying on that table with his on his stomach, and you're like, that's Jon fucking Voight with the fucking surfer boy hair and the beard and the like shark tooth necklace going on. That's that, and he's just watching this happen. I love when movies utilize kind of their surroundings, their setting, their supporting characters, their background characters for huge moments like this. And it really buckles you in. You have at that point no choice, but you're like, oh, this is going to be a serious fucking movie about stuff that I know nothing about. So when they try to explain it to me through that wounded vet, I was like, that was so sincere, and I love that touch of the screenplay. I love it.
I love in that scene the one soldier who's trying to justify his patriotic duty to like free this country of tyranny because it's like a regime that's making them do something they don't want, that's forcing them into this war. And some other guys like, isn't that just the draft? Like, how is
Yeah,
that not what we're doing? And he's kind of like, well, yeah, like he gets shot down immediately. Like, yeah, good point. That whole conversation was a brilliant way to start this movie.
yeah, just genius stuff. And yeah, great intro to a great movie. So I stuck with it, stuck with my guns, even though there's fucking amazing lines throughout this movie. And everybody delivers the entire film. So yeah, that was a tough Tarantino for sure. This is on the word we both feel very strongly about. We love writing, we both love good story and great dialogue from great actors, and we got all of that in this movie. Here we go. This is going to be fascinating. The Ennio Morricone Award for the best music moment. This is a crazy good soundtrack. Got 2 Beatles songs, like 5 or 6 Rolling Stone songs. You got Bob Dylan, you got Tim Buckley, Janis Joplin, all these legends from this time. What did you go with?
So I did initially have the opening credits with Out of Time by the Rolling Stones. I thought that was
Oh,
brilliant. Something
yeah,
hypnotic about Bruce Dern just jogging through a military base. I don't know what that was, but it hooked me in immediately.
yeah.
But that got eclipsed, and I know I'm going to step on toes here. Once I Was by Tim Buckley.
Oh, yeah. Me too. That's what I chose. Yeah.
Holy shit, man. I just seeing all three of them and where they are now with that song playing and like what they've lost. It's so powerful. And it's to me, it's like the moment where Jon Voight won his Oscar, where he's talking to these kids and he's trying his hardest not to cry about everything he did in Nam and how it just changed him irreparably. And then Bruce Dern essentially giving up, and Jane Fonda just continuing her life at the grocery store. It's like, how do you end a movie like that? How do you just show us like, this is what happens to soldiers who are, quote unquote broken. And I was floored.
Yeah, me too, man. I fucking love Tim Buckley. And I did not know that. I knew this soundtrack was going to be slapping, and it was going to be, you know, jumping jack flashes playing when they're playing wheelchair football at one point. I was like, this is fucking cool as shit. Like, just damn, what great choices. Strawberry Fields Forever is playing at one point, just and it's so subtle, right? It's like sometimes it's loud and like right in front of you. It's like the main character, like Tim Buckley. But then sometimes at one point we see Jon Voight, we see Luke Martin turn the stereo down,
Yeah.
and the music turns down, and you're like, I'm here with him.
One of my favorites was Bruce Dern in Hong Kong with Sympathy for the Devil, just kind of creeping in as he starts, talking more about what's bothering him. It was just so well done. It wasn't like, super, it wasn't really super soundtracky. It was just like, it was like a worm just kind of crawling in your ear. It was like, it's there, you can hear it, but you're not quite paying that much attention to it. It was
Mm.
so well done.
Yeah, extremely. But that finale with that song, the song opens up, you know, once I was a soldier and I fought in foreign sands for you. Once I was a hunter and I brought home fresh meat for you. Like, what a great decision to like choose that song. And man, that like I could talk about that album for hours. That is Goodbye and Hello, 1967. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And Tim Buckley is like one of my guys. He was not the best dude, he died in his 20s. Like I think he was 28 when he died of a heroin overdose, and was a father to two children, including, of course, Jeff Buckley, the legend himself, who also had a short life, died at age 30 in the late 90s. And Tim Buckley wanted like nothing to do with Jeff, like had kids way too early. And all of his music is like so very clearly him running from something. And I've always been enamored by Tim Buckley. And there was for sure a stretch in my life where I like leaned on this album, Goodbye and Hello. I leaned on it like heavily and kind of abused it. Sometimes I think we as humans, there's a difference between consuming and like abusing art. And I was definitely abusing that album. And that song, Pleasant Street, I Never Asked to Be Your Mountain, like those songs are just huge staples in my life. So when I heard when I heard it for the first time, I was like, oh my God. Like I had no idea, and that speech from Luke Martin, and we can go ahead and say it, when Captain Hyde commits suicide, uh, and Sally, his wife, has no idea, she's back doing her own thing. It's just one of the most poetic fucking endings I've ever seen. And the whole movie, I was like, this is solid. This is really solid. And I was like, this is like an 8 out of 10 movie. That scene alone was like, is this a 10? Is this movie fucking perfect? Is this a masterpiece? Because of those decisions at the end of the movie, to not just be like, the movie's over, but to just punch you like right in the fucking throat. And that song with it is like, what a choice. One of the best needle drops, hands down. And if anything, I'm glad like I saw this movie for that moment. And I'll never forget it. I was sobbing like a fucking child when that song started playing, and like the things that happen. Fucking brilliant stuff. And that might just be my Deacons. You know what I mean? It's like they kind of go hand in hand. You're like, I don't fucking know. Like that was such a brilliant ending finale. I could not ignore it as my Ennio Morricone. I could not ignore that brilliant needle drop.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, I didn't quite know like how to react to it. I was like, what's happening right now? Like we don't get our everything's gonna be okay ending, because everything's not gonna be okay. You can't fix this kind of wound. And the movie accepts that. And you get to see, two very different ways to deal with that kind of trauma. Yeah, I appreciate how Ashby for having the guts to actually do that. And it's an unforgiving, unflinching ending, but the movie needs it.
Yeah, I agree. It takes it to a different level. That sometimes if you stick the landing and like you can stay in people's hearts and people's minds, and I it's gonna be with me forever. That's for sure.
Damn, for sure, man. Yeah, I knew when I was watching this the whole time. I kept thinking like, you are gonna love this, and there are moments where you are gonna hate this.
Yeah. But I love hate. Like I love that hate. Like, but you really like it's a love hate thing. I love hate relationship. I love that feeling because I'd rather be stirred and disturbed and fucked up than just like, just watch another movie. I way rather be like fucked up. I just way rather be punched in the face and moved in some way than just be like, well, I just watched this thing and like I'm gonna forget about it tomorrow.
Yep.
I was thinking about coming home all day at work, and all day at work I was singing this song once I was that chorus of, when Tim Buckley's weird high pitched voice, goes up to when he sings "Remember Me," and you're like, oh my god, like such a fucking cool song. Yeah, Jesus. I don't know if you a fan of his or have you listened to him before?
I had never heard his name before I watched this
Dude,
movie.
you would, yeah, listen that album specifically, Goodbye and Hello, you'll just like it'll just fucking knock you on your ass. Like it's so good. It's he definitely has like a cult following these days, and I had a friend expose me to him when I was, I don't know, it was maybe like 5-6 years ago. And I'll always owe that friend for because it's one of those artists where I'm like, this is one of my people. Like he's singing about stuff that I want to hear about. And yeah, whew, Tim Buckley's the man. I'm so glad. I didn't think I'd ever be able to talk about him on any of our shows, but here we fucking are. Thanks, Coming Home.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. I love when one of us has these personal connections that we didn't know we'd be able to bring out. It's a great moment.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. Like when the movie ended, I was like, uh like how the fuck am I gonna go to bed right now? Like I'm like I have my shirt's covered in my own tears, and I'm like I was like sweating. I was like just sitting in my filth. And again, I wouldn't trade that for the world. Those moments make you as a fan of art. They form you in who you are. And Coming Home, this is the movie I won't forget about. We haven't even gotten to the other two awards. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award. This is tough. This is tough.
This was tough, but simply because I didn't know he had it in him because I'd never seen him like this, I gave it to Jon Voight. I mean, holy hell, man! Like the commitment, the pain, the rage, the love, it all like the guilt. He's carrying all of that all at once, and he doesn't let it break him. It's a amazing character. It's an inspiring character, and he deserved that win 100%. I'm so glad I got to kind of learn who Jon Voight was as a performer with this movie.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I mean, he's doing one of those things where it's a career making performance if you're looking for it. There's a difference between like someone like Tom Cruise doing fucking Top Gun. It's like, oh, this guy's career is about to change. And then there's roles like this, Jon Voight and Coming Home. Like, holy shit, have you seen that? That's one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life, type thing. So I totally get that, and this is probably my bias coming out, but I give it to Jane Fonda. I Fonda does stuff with her face that I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's like the stuff they teach people that want to learn how to act. She just has this, it might have something to do with her last name. She has this natural ability to just do what I want my actors to do when I'm watching a movie. She just has that thing, that like it factor that I'm obsessed with, and I'm always like watching for, when I'm watching performers. And man, I love her in Clute. I love her in the China Syndrome, but man, this might be my favorite performance of hers. It's just the subtle changes she makes throughout the film. This 2-hour movie that really does such a good job. This is again, hats off to Mr. Don Zimmerman. The way it's edited is so fine tuned that you don't really notice time elapsing or whatever. You're just kind of along for the ride, and it all makes sense. I'm never like, wait a minute, how does that add up? How did that happen? The love story between her and Jon Voight, like, I believe it. That moment when they this it's one of the best sex scenes I've ever seen in my life. Is that between them two? That it's like one of the only ones that's worthwhile that I've seen, where it's like, wow, it had a lot to do with the story, and it like felt right. Like it felt like there was a right enough amount of time. The tension was like rising just enough, that like sexual tension they have, and I was blown away by both of them, man. They're Bruce Dern's great. Penelope Milford is great. I do think these two are on some other fucking they're in a different ballpark during this movie, and has to go to one of them too.
Yeah, I figured you were going to go Fonda. You've
Yeah.
had such a fondness for her for over the past year and a half. Like I knew any movie Jane Fonda does, like that we do, you're going to go Fonda.
Probably.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's tough. Yeah. I love her. Yeah, I love her to death. She's become like one of my 5 favorite actresses of all time. She's one of the she's like in that zone for me. Can't say the same about Jon Voight. Not yet. Gotta see more stuff, I gotta see what Baby Genius is 6. I gotta see that. We gotta see what he does in that first, But yeah, Voight, this is like a museum performance from him. Where like most humans can't do that,
When he's the scene when he's talking to the kids and his voice starts cracking and he's like, the things I did over there, I have to live with that. And even the soldier who came there to recruit kids is like nearing tears. And like, holy hell, man. You believe it. You believe he went through that shit. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and go to the deacons. It has to be mine. I mean, it's the Tim Buckley scene. It's the speech. It's the suicide attempt. The last lines of the movie are, and I'm just telling you that there's a choice to be made here. That's the last line of the movie. This guy in a wheelchair who has to lower the microphone because no one fucking does it for him. Like even that decision was like, wow, like what a subtle little thing that like the person who introduced him didn't have the mindset or couldn't look past his own fucking nose to help this guy out who fought for you, motherfucker. It was one of those kind of like, yeah, nobody's paying attention to this guy anymore because he's in a wheelchair, but he's a hero. Wow, what a scene. The finale is just something else.
Yeah, it's beautiful and tragic and heartbreaking. But it's not what I picked.
I can't wait to hear what you got. There's contenders.
I have such a subtle moment that I didn't think was gonna like affect me as much as it did. It's when Billy, Vi's brother, realizes he can't play his guitar anymore. And Luke embraces him and starts crying with him. It's the first time in the movie we see Luke as a vulnerable person, because he's just this kind of brash, angry man the whole time until that moment. And then he's like, fuck, man, you can't play guitar. And he like hugs him from behind, and they just have this moment of like two human beings fractured by war, wishing things were different. It was such a beautiful moment that I stuck with that.
Yeah. God, good pick. That is filmmaking right there. Just all the emotions coming into the forefront, and a good turning point movie of Luke's character. Fucking hell, man. this movie fucking rules. I really did not think we'd get this out of this movie when I picked it, because we've never done this ceremony, and I really was just looking for an excuse to do this ceremony, to do 1978. And I was like, I don't want to do the Deer Hunter. I want to save that for a big Best Picture showdown later down the line. Love that movie. But this has an argument to be better than that movie. And I had no idea that I would think that. And a crazy double feature.
Yeah, 78, you had 2 Vietnam movies about, the horrors of that war destroying people. And yeah, it's a toss-up, man. Like, they're both incredible films. And I don't know. I want to see the other 3 so I can make a judgment call here.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Which leads us to the 51st Academy Awards. Let's talk about some of the stuff here. We'll talk about the categories that Coming Home was in. There's 8 of them. We'll save the winners for later. We'll do screenplay, best actress, and best actor later. So we'll start with some of the other stuff. Is there anything else you want to say, just kind of generally about Coming Home? Any other scenes that kind of jumped out to you?
I love that we like Luke and Sally meet each other by him slamming into her and dumping his piss bag on her.
Yeah.
That's a love story for the ages right there.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love this. Another subtle scene that I thought was really fucking good was when she admits to him, Sally admits to Luke when he's playing basketball with his buddies. She's at the fence, holding on to the fence, And she's like, "Oh, Bob's gonna be in Hong Kong. That's where I'm going, so I'll be gone for a while." He's like, "All right, see you later," and he just wheels off.
Yeah.
And then when she's walking away, he like finally looks back and he's like, "God damn it."
You can
I'm
tell
in love with this woman.
in the way he's talking, you can tell he is so fucking hurt that she's going to see her husband. He's like, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Do what you got to do. Fuck it. I don't care. Yeah.
Not my problem. Like, oh man. Yeah, it feels like real people dealing with real shit. And that's rare in film. It really is.
I agree. All right. I think the best place to start with these categories with these nominations for Coming Home is best film editing. Because there's, I mean, man, dude, this movie was up for some massive awards. So film editing is technically the least, which I hate doing that, but we got to start somewhere. The winner is Peter Zinner for The Deer Hunter, Robert E. Swink for The Boys from Brazil, Don Zimmerman, Coming Home, Jerry Hamling for Midnight Express, a movie I got to see that movie. And then this is great. Stuart Baird for Superman. Crazy. This is a group I've seen 3 of these movies. Of course, Superman, Coming Home, and The Deer Hunter. If I had a vote, I'd give it to Coming Home.
I do love Superman.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, those first 2 Supermans are fucking great movies.
Crazy cast.
Yeah, I know. Hackman as Luthor. I still can't believe it.
Yeah, I know. I still get chills just like I'm like that. The guy who was in French Connection just like a decade before. Are you kidding me?
It's been a minute since I watched The Deer Hunter, like a long time. So I'm gonna, because I can't really give an informed decision on that one. I am gonna go Coming Home.
That's fair. That's totally fair. It is when you watch it. Really, we just watched this. Days less than 24 hours ago for me, and for you just a couple days ago. So yeah, that recency bias can come in, but man, I was rocked by this movie. I really like The Deer Hunter. I've owned it for years, and my brother owned it back when we were in high school, and he showed it to me, and I was completely rocked by it. And it's around the time when I was watching The Godfather and those like quintessential 70s movies, and I wanted to watch as much De Niro as I could. So very like kind of formative movie for me. But yeah, I was just rocked by the approach of Coming Home, and I thought it was edited really well for just kind of seamlessly going through this love story while also talking about the matters at hand with our country at that time.
Yeah.
And guys being fucked up by going and fighting in one of the nastiest wars of all time.
Well, the ending with juxtapositioning, Jon Voight talking to the kids and Bruce Dern's suicide attempt and Sally. I mean, let's call her Sally Field because her name's Sally. At the grocery store, like with the music, like all that was edited so well to feel like one coherent like moment. So yeah, Coming Home really does excel in the editing department.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's do. This is tough. Let's do actor in a supporting role, and then actress in a supporting role, then directing. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay, I don't have a lot of arguments here. The winner of this award is Christopher Walken in The Deer Hunter. Lights out. Bruce Dern, Coming Home. Richard Farnsworth for Comes a Horseman. Haven't seen that one. John Hurt for Midnight Express. Again, I hate when this happens. There's certain movies I'm like embarrassed that I haven't seen it, and Midnight Express is one of those. Jack Warden for Heaven Can Wait. I don't think that's a very good nomination for that movie. For that performance is good and all, Jack Warden, but it's kind of silly at times and just not really my kind of compared to what Walken's doing, what Dern's doing, and just no thanks. So my vote is to Walken for sure.
It's interesting because Walken and Dern are playing very similar characters here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Walken. That performance,
yes, it's tough.
Frightening that his performance in that, just how broken and like gone his character gets in that movie. Like it's for the ages, and I'm so glad that Walken has a win just because I love him so much.
Me too. He's one of those guys that just deserves something to kind of put in the cabinet, towards his name, because because he's got so much under his belt, like so much work and so many kind of iconic roles within so many genres that I think it's cool that he has a piece of gold.
Should have had a second win for True Romance. Just that one scene alone, he dominates almost that whole fucking movie.
Yeah, he does. Jesus, I love True Romance. That would be such a fun Oscar Sunday too. If we could. Oh man, yeah, he's great in that. Yeah, Walken, and he's the guy who I remember most from Deer Hunter, so that feels right. Best actress in a supporting role. Love this category because I've seen all of them except for one. Maggie Smith won for California Suite. Not a great movie, but a good performance. Diane Cannon for Heaven Can Wait. Penelope Milford for Coming Home. Maureen Stapleton for Interiors. That I believe is a Woody Allen film, but I have not seen that one. And Meryl Streep, The Deer Hunter. Meryl Streep, this is one of her 21 nominations. Just fucking crazy when you think about it that way. Maggie Smith is another kind of Christopher Walken type where you're like, I'm glad she has this, you know?
Yeah, I don't have much to add to this one. I've just seen Coming Home and The Deer Hunter. So I'm California Suite. Was that a deserved win for Maggie?
She's really good in it. It's not a great movie and kind of has been kind of shit on in more recent years of just being kind of like, what the fuck was that? But it's got some fun moments because it's about her character is going to the Oscars. Like she's nominated at the Oscars in the movie and she wins the Oscar. So that was neat, you know. Cool cast and all, and just kind of one of those all-star casts that didn't quite give a great story, but good performances, and I had a good time, and I love Maggie Smith, so I'm cool with it. If I really was voting, probably go Penelope Milford. Meryl Streep is great in The Deer Hunter, but Penelope doing something really, really unique and Coming Home, so I'd probably go with her.
Yeah, moments like, after she loses her brother and she just like pushes it away, forgets to like, does not, just refuses to face the reality until she tries, to hook up with those guys, and it just explodes out of her. And those two guys are like, well, it looks like we're not getting laid. But
yeah, that was a very, very raw scene where they're like, he goes like, he does one of those like, damn it. he swings his arm like in the air, like, fuck. I was almost there, one of those douchey, just male moments. Yeah, that was a very impactful scene. And what a friend Sally is in that moment. She embraces her in the restroom and is like, hey, are you okay? And tough stuff for Vi.
Absolutely. So I think, it would have been cool if she got the win, but I do want to see Maggie Smith's performance here before I really make that call.
Totally understand. How about best directing? This is another win for The Deer Hunter. Did really, really well at this ceremony. But you have Coming Home in there again. Heaven Can Wait, Interiors, and Midnight Express. Again, seen 3 of these. Haven't seen Interiors or Midnight Express. I am chomping at the bit to see Midnight Express, but not so much Interiors. We've both voiced how we're not big Woody Allen fans. I've liked some of the stuff I've seen, but I'm not like itching to study him. Mainly because who he is and what we know about him now. But also his movies, to me, he's one of those guys where it's like, was he really like that many times? Was he really giving the best in these categories that many times? I have a hard time believing it.
There's no way that he's just become one of those names where it's like, if he writes something, he's going to be up. He's kind of, I don't want to discount Meryl Streep's performances, but are they all worth the nominations? It's kind of that same thing. It's like she's a
probably not.
Their name's so attached to the Oscars that it's just par for the course.
Yeah, definitely. Meryl, like 20, really? Like that doesn't seem right, especially in modern movie making. Yeah. It'd be one thing if it was from 1930 to 1950, where you got 12 nominations in that time. That would make a little more sense than Meryl Streep's done it from the 70s to now. It's like, all right, I mean, there's so many movies coming out, so many different performances. 21 times? She really reached that kind of a level? I don't know. Yeah. I do love some of those though. I love her. I love 2 of her wins. Sophie's Choice and Kramer vs. Kramer. Not a huge Iron Lady fan, but it is cool to see her have 3. She she's one of the more iconic people who have ever done it. So, with that being said, Woody Allen is not really one of our guys. But if you're voting between Deer Hunter and Coming Home, what would you go with?
Uh, I'd give it to Hal Ashby.
Yeah, me too. Me too. This is a directing like showcase. Just
Yeah.
really, really, really. The way it's approached is just unlike any other war movie I've really seen.
Yeah, it's the aftermath. It's not the war. It's what the war does to people, and
Yeah,
that's brilliant. More, I wish more war movies were kind of focused on that, and not so much the action of combat.
yeah. The space between the notes, like what's really going on, and love that about it. So, yeah, I'd vote for him as well. Let's see. Should we go to Best Picture because that Coming Home lost Best Picture, or should we go to the wins?
I think we should do the wins last.
Okay, so Best Picture next. This is of course the Deer Hunter. It beat Coming Home, Heaven Can Wait, Midnight Express, and An Unmarried Woman. I tried because in my mind I was like, okay, I have this week. Do I want to go ahead and watch? Because I've seen the Deer Hunter. I've seen it a few times. I really like it. I knew I could watch Heaven Can Wait because it's on Paramount Plus right now. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch that just to get some more, background stuff. I looked for Midnight Express and An Unmarried Woman on streaming and I couldn't find them. I would have watched them. I would have made time for them, but I couldn't find them anywhere. And I was like, I'm not about to rent both of these for a non-Best Picture Showdown show. So one day we will knock all five of these movies out and talk about them on an episode and have a lot more to say about all five of them. But of the three I've seen, two of them very good. Deer Hunter, Coming Home, and Heaven Can Wait, just not quite up to par with the Best Picture category for me.
Yeah.
There's a little movie called Halloween that came out that year. That movie's better than Heaven Can Wait. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about just for me. I'm talking about from a grand scale of like what's a good movie, and it's just annoying, when that happens. But Coming Home and Deer Hunter, they deserve to be there.
I'm looking up Midnight Express. This sounds very intriguing.
Yeah. It's up our alley.
An Unmarried Woman, frankly, doesn't. But I could be wrong. Maybe it's great. Yeah, this will be an interesting showdown when we get to the Deer Hunter someday.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. I love these 70s Oscar episodes that we do. We just never know exactly what you're going to find and what you're going to connect with. And we will do that one day. I'm not sure when, but could be years from now. We never know. We don't know how this schedule lines up. There's 52 episodes in a year. We like to spread the love and do all kinds of movies. We never know when we'll be back to a certain ceremony. For one, I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we did the Coming Home episode before we did a Best Picture Showdown, because now I'm coming into that. Whenever we do that, I'm gonna be like, fuck yeah, I get to rewatch Coming Home, and like rock my world. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And maybe it'll have some serious competition, because right now that I'm leaning towards Coming Home for a Best Picture win.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, man. So let's do Best Actress in Lead Role. We're gonna get to the three wins for this is a cool fucking group. Jane Fonda wins Coming Home. A little Titan named Ingrid Bergman nominated for Autumn Sonata. That's her last nomination. I've actually seen that. I didn't mean to. Like I didn't mean to like I wasn't going to watch an Oscar nominated performance. I was like, oh, Autumn Sonata, this is Bergman and Bergman together, and this is also Liv Ullmann, who worked with Ingmar Bergman over and over, and I've always heard about that director actress partnership and that duo. And so I put it on in Criterion one time, and I was like, this is really fucking good. And Ingrid Bergman is much older in the movie because it's 1978. I was accustomed to Gaslight, you know what I mean? And so it was a completely different scenario, and she's amazing in it. She plays Liv Ullmann's mom in the movie, and she's like a villain in the movie, and she's fucking frightening, subtly frightening. And yeah, you would love that performance. I think her and Fonda, like, there's an argument for both of them. Ellen Burstyn was nominated that year for Same Time Next Year. Love Ellen Burstyn. I'd love to see that movie. Uh, Jill Clayburgh for An Unmarried Woman. There's that movie again. And then Geraldine Page for Interiors. Woody Allen. Woody Allen usually gets a couple. His performers usually get a nomination. So I've only seen two of these, but this is a pretty star-studded group here, and I intend on trying to see those others whenever we do that showdown. And I love to do a little extra work and watch same time next year because Ellen Burstyn's awesome.
Yeah, I have a big affinity for Ingrid Bergman, and
Yeah,
honestly, I'm sure I would adore.
yes,
I'd very much like to watch that.
Yeah, you would really dig that. That's one of those dramas that's like underneath it is a horror movie where you're like, you know what I mean?
Those are the
it has
best.
it has those elements of like, yeah, this is like high quality dramatic filmmaking with that underlying like freaky thing going on between family members where you're like, I don't like this. This isn't right. It doesn't always need blood and gore and jump scares to freak you out. And I think Autumn Sonata has some freak out type stuff going on. So you would dig it, man. It's surprisingly, when I watched it, I was like, okay, this is really good. I didn't realize how critically acclaimed it was until after, and I was reading about it. I was like, damn, people love this movie. Like this is a classic to a lot of cinephiles. Has a really high letterbox score of like a 4.3 or something. And I was like, okay, people like this shit. So good stuff. You dig that one. Best actor in a lead role. This is a group of different fucking guys. I'd love to see all these guys in the same movie doing something crazy. Best actor in a lead role. The winner, Jon Voight for Coming Home. He beat Warren Beatty for Heaven Can Wait. Gary fucking Busey for the Buddy Holly story. Crazy that he has, his name in the hat here. Robert De Niro for The Deer Hunter. And motherfucking Laurence Olivier for The Boys from Brazil. So you've got, people think Laurence Olivier, there's people out there who think he's he's God's gift to earth. There's people who think De Niro is the greatest actor to ever live. Warren Beatty is a guy who did it all throughout his career and was super famous. And Gary Busey, just that weird fucking guy from like Black Sheep, like that, Gary fucking Busey. And I think that's amazing. I got to see that movie. Have you seen Buddy Holly Story?
Buddy Holly Story is a wonderful movie, and Gary Busey is fucking phenomenal in it. I will give him that.
Fuck yeah.
This is, pre his motorcycle accident when he was, a fairly stable human being. I don't know if you caught the news, but he got charged with sexual misconduct today. Today. Yeah. He got he got handsy at a horror convention, and he's being charged for misconduct.
Jesus.
Bye to Gary Busey.
I didn't know. No, I had no idea. I didn't see that. That's crazy that he gets brought up because of the Buddy Holly story, and he was nominated and lost to Jon Voight. What the fuck?
Yeah, insane. So I've seen that, and I've seen Deer Hunter and Coming Home. I'm not taking anything away from Jon Voight. He earned this 100%.
Yeah, neither am I. Neither of us are big Laurence Olivier people, so we can kind of count him out.
I do really want to see The Boys from Brazil, though. That sounds like such a cool movie.
It does. He leaves such a bad taste in my mouth because of this show, like the movies we've watched with him, the like Shakespearean stuff. Yeah. I'm just not into it. It's not up my alley. That movie is the only one where I'm like, I might like that. It's that one.
Have you seen Marathon Man?
I like Marathon Man. That's a good shout. Good shout. Yeah.
Basically, when it's not Shakespeare, I have no problem with him.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
It's not him. It's fucking Shakespeare.
Yeah. That's a guy that I don't know. Maybe my opinions on him are too strong, and I need to see more stuff. Right?
Yeah.
He was nominated like 9 times. So yeah, I would like to see more. Gary Busey has not been nominated 9 times. It's very rare that we'll ever bring his name up on this show. But yes, Jon Voight, not taking anything away from him. No way. I would, even if I see the Buddy Holly story and The Boys from Brazil, I just have a hard time believing anybody's going to outshine Luke fucking Martin. Just no way.
Yeah. Buddy Holly story is a good movie. I don't know if Busey deserved a nomination for it, but I mean, it's the story of Buddy Holly. How do you not just, I think he does all the singing too, which is impressive.
Yeah, that's good. That's always something the Academy enjoys as well.
Yeah.
All right, last category before we get the hell out of here. Screenplay written directly for the screen. The winner is Coming Home. Again, Waldo Salt, Robert C. Jones, and Nancy Dowd. Cool little trio we talked about earlier. Here's Autumn Sonata again, Ingmar Bergman. The Deer Hunter. Yeah, that movie's everywhere in this ceremony. Interiors, Woody Allen, and An Unmarried Woman. So yeah, we basically have the same group as the Best Picture category. You just swap out Heaven Can Wait for Autumn Sonata, so that's interesting. But man, the Coming Home screenplay gonna be tough to beat. Tough to beat.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like I said, it feels like real people with real situations, and that is incredibly difficult to capture. You'd think it'd be easy. We're all people, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that, they were able to pull that off, they deserve that win.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Coming Home did well at this ceremony. Lots of nominations, lots of categories, and it seems like in every single one we understand the nomination and that it has like a fighting chance in every category, and in some of them is like the undisputed winner. So very cool stuff. I think it was a high risk, high reward with this episode, with this movie. Both went in blind. Here we are, talked about this movie for an hour and a half, and we've just gotten so much out of it. Again, you can only find it online on DVD, specifically Amazon.com. Like Connor said, it's $12.99. And there's nowhere else to find it, and that's upsetting. I would love for it to be on fucking Netflix at some point. It's a movie that was on a budget of $3 million and made over 30 million. It's one of those kind of little guy gets the win type movies, and I wish it had more of a fan club these days.
Well, this movie to me is the perfect, evidence of why I continue to buy physical copy films, because if I didn't, there's no way I ever would have been able to watch this. It's owning a movie is important, because if it ever shit gets lost, shit gets removed, and I want to be able to keep watching the movies I love.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's definitely why I keep stacking them up too. And it's good to find movies like this. You buy fucking Dodgeball with Ben Stiller and and those guys. That's probably going to be around. It's probably going to be easy to access. But it's good. I think it's good. It's fun to have those, but it's also good to find movies that you're going to connect with that you can't find anywhere else. And it's kind of like it's like yours. It's like a baby. You just like want to hold on to it.
Just on a whim, just because we might one day do them. I picked up Captain's Courageous and Double Indemnity because
beautiful.
They're classics. They're Oscar darlings that I would want to have immediate access to.
There you go. It's coming handy for the show for sure. Sometimes we have to buy stuff to even do these episodes. Recently we did what fucking showdown was it where we had to buy The Immigrants?
That was for The Godfather.
Yeah, 1972. Yeah, had to buy The Immigrants, and it's only you can like only buy it on Criterion, so it's like $25 fucking dollars. We did it. We bought it. We were like, we have to. We can't do the showdown without it, so we have to fucking find it. We have to buy it, and that's what happened here with this movie. So I'm sure you're very happy to have it on your shelf, though, man. This is one that you'll be willing to kind of loan out to people like, hey, check this out. It's gonna take you for a spin. Great movie. I'm sure we'll reference it again throughout our kind of Oscar Sunday. As we move forward with the show, and just kind of we always reference old episodes and old feelings we've had, and I think this is one that's kind of special to both of us. This Wednesday on Filmgasm, we're covering a fascinating movie from 2008, The Strangers. I remember actually seeing that movie in theaters and being like, I'm cool. It was like one of those like, I'm seeing this horror movie. And that was very rare. I went and saw it with a couple friends, I believe. And I own it now, and I like it. I'm excited for that episode. It's a fun movie. So that's going to be you and Colton?
Caleb.
You and Caleb.
Yeah.
Colton's got computer issues, huh?
Yeah, still dealing with that, but we're gonna figure that out.
Come on, my guy, Colton. We need him back. And then on Friday, Beyond the Bad doing a what Connor described as a knockoff, shitty version of John Wick is Polar from 2019, just a Netflix movie, action movie that I remember seeing like on the fucking the little home screen, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. It's one of
Netflix
those.
has given us no shortage of shit movies to cover on that show. And you'd think like Mads Mikkelsen is the star of this movie and leading an action thriller. Like on paper, this should make sense, but it's a fucking mess.
Yeah, God, I love Mads Mikkelsen. Right, this is right before another round. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but yeah, it'll be Beyond the Bad episode. I'm sure you guys will get into kind of this new wave of like shit action movies that came after John Wick. That's certainly a thing that has happened the past few years. Next Sunday, cannot wait to do this movie. I've been kind of circling it since we started this show. It's one of those movies that I was like, this would be cool to talk about and cool to show you. The Third Man from 1949. Love this movie. I can't wait to revisit it. Going right back to the 40s. We have no problem going back to the old days and finding those gems. And I think this is a gem. I know this is a gem, and I think you're gonna really, really like it, man. So I love when we have these moments of. You mentioned earlier. I love doing movies that we both have seen a million times and we love them. I love doing movies that neither of us have seen. I love doing movies that I've seen that you haven't, or you have and I haven't. It's like all of those things are totally okay with me. I'm always down. So stick with us this week. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at FILMGAZM. Go to our website, filmgazm.com. Connor just put up like 12 fucking reviews the other day, and they're all great. I tend to always read his stuff as I go on breaks at work and stuff. I'll get on filmgazm.com and just kind of see what's going on there. And we're always doing something. So stick with us. Keep watching movies, and we'll see you on Wednesday.